Great. Welcome to Digital Asset News. My name is Rob, and today we got a lot of things to go over. First things first, just as the thumbnail and title suggests, we're going to take a look at how ex-Merrill Lynch chief economist calls for a recession, not only a recession, but a 2-year recession. So we'll take a look at the data behind that. We'll also take a look at the 4-year plan and comparing DCA during these hard times. Also, we'll do a quick SWEATCOIN update. I know it's everybody's favorite, and I'm going to tell you exactly how much they paid me to talk about that. And then after that, we'll do a little Q&A. But first, before we jump into all that, instead of going to the market, let's take a look at a little bottom and top review as far as on-chain analysis. So first things first, we did a couple of videos about top callers and bottom callers. One of those that I really like to see is the MVRV Z-score. First of all, you probably ask yourself, what is that? It's a great question. So the MVRV uses 3 metrics. Market value, which is the blue line, which is the current price of Bitcoin, multiplied by the number of coins. Pretty simple. Then you have the realized value, the price of each Bitcoin when it was last moved. And then the Z-score, that just pulls out all the extremes in the data between market value and realized value. You can find all of these great charts and information over at lookintobitcoin.com. There's a link in the description. What's great about this website is that it's 100% free. So you can check these out every day to your heart's desire. And as we can see, we were talking about as far as like the bottom parts, we may have bottomed around June 13th, and we are still in what's called that green accumulation phase. And I always like these charts because it makes it very simple. Green, maybe you should think about accumulating, and red, maybe you should think about selling. And of course, in this channel, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but these are the things that I take a look at for later on down the road when I want to do some things. But there is a couple of things that I will make mention of that we did a video on Friday, which is there is in this green accumulation zone, it starts at the 0 level. And of course, as we go down below, once we hit to like a negative point or 0.42 or 40, that's when we're at the absolute low. And that's happened only 3 times. And that is in 2011. Of course, that was the market bottom. And then 2015, again, below the negative 0.4. This also happened again in 2018, which I think most of us can remember. And unfortunately for this cycle, folks, in the 4-year cycle, it has not happened yet. So does that mean that the bottom has been put in? Well, only time will tell. But as far as for me, I think there's a little bit more to go. And also, another indicator we take a look at, the Pi cycle top. Just so you know, we are nowhere near the top. And I've taken suggestions just to remind people that, of course, the Pi cycle top has retroactively looked back at 2011, 13, and 17 tops, but it also accurately predicted the 2021 top as well. And that is when the 111-day moving average crosses over a 350-day. And in that time frame, you can see right here that we are nowhere close to the top. And I'm going to start doing more of these so people I can remind people to check out these charts so they can take a look. If you want an in-depth observation or an evaluation of all these charts, go to danteachescrypto.com. It is also 100% free. And just go to chapter 3, investing, and you can take a look at what I talk about the cycle top callers and the cycle bottom callers, and they're all laid out for you so you can make the best decision for you and your financial independence, hopefully. So that is what we have as far as the top and bottom. Let's jump into what I like to say today's top story. So this was it's a pretty good video brought to you by Real Vision and Raoul Pal. And I found it fascinating because I feel like these are the types of information that you're going to get from very few people. It's a great YouTube channel. You check it out. The link is also in the description. But who Raoul Pal is interviewing here is David Rosenberg. You probably ask yourself, who's David Rosenberg? It's a great question. David is the founder of Rosenberg Research, but he's got a pretty illustrious career. So, of course, founder and president of Rosenberg Research. Prior to Rosenberg Research, David was the chief economist and strategist at Gluskin Sheff and Associates from 2009 to 2019. From 2002 to 2009, he was also the chief North American economist at Merrill Lynch. Prior to that, he was chief economist and strategist for Merrill Lynch Canada, based out of Toronto, where he and his team placed first in the Brennan Woods survey of Canadian economists for 10 years in a row. So this isn't some armchair economist that just kind of, peruses up to every so many shows. This is a gentleman who's probably been around for quite some time, and it's an interesting insight to what he has to say. So I'm gonna play 3 snippets. I can't play the whole clip. It's over an hour. I highly recommend that you take a listen to everything to get everything into context. Again, there is a link in the description to the video itself. But there's 3 clips we're going to talk about. First, we're going to talk about the recession. Then we're going to talk about how he refers to people as clowns and how people are just manipulating data to show that there's not a recession. And then I think one of the bigger things is why people don't call it a recession and why they're so darn afraid to say the R word. So let's just jump in here and take a listen. Let me stop this real quick. Let me share the actual tab itself so you can hear it. And let me mute myself.
Well, we are in the early stages of what is probably going to be a 2-year recession. So that's where I think we are right now. And the beauty about this call is that it is separates itself from the consensus view that we're going to experience a soft landing or a short and shallow recession. It could be shallow. It's not going to be short. That's where we are.
Micro investing.
So yeah, so he goes into great detail as to why that is. I'm just going to let you evaluate that, but it's just interesting that a person who has been quite in this arena for quite some time lays it out pretty truthfully like that. And the big question I have is, well, why is there so few people talking about a recession in the same way that's being said here by Rosenberg? And there's a couple of clips, and I'll play those. The next one is about a minute long, and the one after that's about a minute and a half. So just take a listen to these 2 as well. Ba-ba-ba.
It's funny, and it's just basically, let's face it, Raul, we're in a business where optimism wins out over pessimism 90% of the time, and then it doesn't 10% of the time. And you have these economists, and look, I spend most of my life on the sell side. Why would you, unless you hate your job, why would you jeopardize your career by making a recession call? I saw Brian Moynihan on CNBC today talking about how great the economy is. If I was still at Merrill, well, I guess it's called Bank of America now. I'm not going to go against the CEO. Oh, everything's just great. Back-to-back quarters of negative. Oh, don't worry. It's only inventories, and it's only consumer spending on durables, and it's only housing, and it's only CapEx. Don't worry about it.
Hey, listen, Dave, question. Inflation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. And then the next question I have is, if it's so clear to this gentleman here, why is it that no one really talks about it? And that's the next part of why people just kind of hide the information. And it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. And don't just think about who he's talking about here, but think about the people that you listen to right now in the media arena. So let's take a listen to this.
But come on, Raul, it's hilarious. The yield curve inverts. I actually I said, here's my forecast for the year. When the yield curve inverts, the intelligentsia is going to say, ignore the yield curve. And so Powell gets his economist, find me a part of the yield curve that's not inverted. Oh, well, what do you know? It's the 3-month, 18 months out. And okay, that's great. That's not inverted. Okay, oh, that's great. No, the yield curve's not inverted. I said they're going to dismiss the yield curve. It's got an 85% track record, but we'll ignore it. And then I said yet again, when we get back-to-back quarters of negative GDP, these clowns are going to find a way to say, yeah, it's not a recession. It's not a recession. I'm not going to say who. There's an anchor on Bubble Vision who said, I'm going to wait for the NBER to come out
after the recession.
Gee, thanks for, do you know that when I was at Merrill and I went to the bond desk and I said, I'm going to wait for the NBER, I think that, I probably would have been killed. And, the NBER told us that the recession started in December of 2008. Thank you. It was 12 months old, but the recession is here. Thank you very much. Historically, the NBER The NBER tells you we're in a recession when we're already 7 months knee deep in it.
So there you go. I mean, there's a reason why people don't like to say the R word, the recession. People don't like to say how, this bull market or this bear market will slowly turn into a bull market quickly. And there's a reason why people are so positive in different respects. Is because it jeopardizes their career. So unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, whoever you listen to, even myself included, just ask the tough questions, because at some point you have to say to yourself, is it really going to be that great or that easy? Me, I'm in the thinking that things are going to be rocky for quite some time, and I'm okay with that. And if I'm wrong, I mean, great. I'm wrong, and everything is rainbows and butterflies. Everything's great. However, when I take a look at all these things, I just look at it and say to myself, well, honestly, I think I'll be okay in the long run. So when I take a look at the different parts that are going on, and I take a look at the recession, and as far as like a 2-year recession, it makes a lot of sense, especially with, we've been talking about this for quite some time now. The economic recession for GDP based, as recession has been defined by most as 2 negative quarters of back-to-back GDP. And we can take a look at that and say, yeah, this looks exactly like what we had before. But the thing is that recessions, again, they don't last forever. They usually last about 2 years, year and a half to 2 years. The last one, not the last one that goes back, and as far as like the Fred economic data, look at 1969, 1970, about 2 years. Here, about 2 years, year and a half, roughly a year and a half and 3/4. 1990, where we go? 1989, 91, about 2. Here was a very short one. 2001 dot-com bubble burst, not too bad. And of course, the Great Recession, 2007, 2009. And now here we are. This was, of course, because of the pandemic. And if they updated it, we'd see that there was some negative GDP growth. And there it was. So if we have it for 2 years, is that the most awful thing of all time? Well, for some people it is. The ones that aren't ready, the ones that don't understand, the ones that are like, what happened? I invested in where all my money went to. So for us, if you're here now and you're listening to me, all the tourists that were here that during the bull run, they're all gone because they don't understand the whole thing about cycles. They don't really understand about just having the patience and investing and just the ups and downs, and they can't take it. It's like a good quote where it says that, hey, everybody's got the stomach, or everybody's got the brain power to invest, but nobody or very few actually have the stomach. And if we take a look at this and we understand that, well, it kind of fits into the 4-year cycle theory, right? Like we're always talking about. And for crypto, everything kind of works out with that, and it all kind of bases on the halving event. And of course, if we're having like a 2-year recession, this lines up perfectly with exactly how things are. This one, first one, 2012, 2015. Then we have one from 16 to 19. Now our most recent one, 2020, there was a Bitcoin halving. We get an all-time high, just like we did before and before then. And then we go through a dip, which we're going on right now. Then I think it was more of a downward slide towards the end of the year, maybe 2023. And if we're going into a recession, or we are in a recession and it lasts for 2 years, well, that's 2023 and 2024. What happens after that? Economic boom, all-time high 2025. And it's the same thing that lines up over here. Look what happens after a recession. GDP increases, and we have a robust or an increase in GDP and a more robust economy. And those last for much longer than recessions. The last one was over a decade. So when I take a look at this, I'm like, that is great. So the next question then would be, well, how does this all work out? What am I going to do during this time? There's 2 things. First of all, I always talk about dollar cost averaging, and that's great. That'll tell you, again, not financial advice, just what I do. There's a plethora of different things you can do. You can trade, you can trade on leverage, you can sell your house and gamble. That's fine. That's not the channel. This isn't the channel for that. There's tons of channel that'll lead you to ruination doing that. But I'm just a little more safer person, and you don't have to do this. This is what I do. But if you dollar cost average, there's a great website, dcabtc.com. I linked in the description. And you have to remember first things first, is that dollar cost averaging is great to understand how to buy and sustain, but it does not really teach the whole aspect of selling. And selling is a whole art in and of itself. There's different things you can learn. You can take a look at, again, technical analysis, take a look at the market cycles. You can also take a look at just on-chain data like we talked about in the beginning, which is why I talked about MVRV score, pi cycle tops, and of course the top calls and the bottom callers and all that good stuff. But if you take a look at dollar cost averaging, again, just to buy doesn't tell you great information as when to sell. And of course, some people will say, I'm never selling. I'm going to hold on until I die, and I'm going to pass it on to my kids, and then they're going to die with it. And then those kids are going to die, and they're going to transfer on to my grandkids, and they're going to die. Hey, if you want to do that, have at it. Maybe Bitcoin will be the next reserve currency. I have no idea. But for me, I'm going to take some profits along the way because no one ever went broke taking profits. Anyhow, if you just take a look at this DCA BTC, send this to all your friends who are into precious metals. I own precious metals, but I don't think it's a big boom to, make massive gains. Maybe I'm wrong. But if you take a look at this, you can put your purchase amount. What I'm going to do, let's just do a quick example. Oops, that's way too much. Let's say you do $100 every week, and you accumulate for 1 year, and you started 1 year ago. Well, that's pretty bad because we're in a bear market, and we're actually down 7% over a year. Well, that sucks. Well, why would I do that? Rob, why would I do that? It's because it's a time game. It's a time game. Let's do this. Let's go 4 years and 4 years. Okay. Now you've invested $20,000. You put in $100 every week. And, maybe some can do that. Maybe some people can't. Maybe they put in 50 a week or 10 a week. I have no idea what your situation is. Or maybe you put in a lot more. Maybe you put in $1,000 a day. I don't know. But the thing is, if you put in just in Bitcoin, you would have invested $20,000 and you would have got back 78,658, and the percentage change would be 276. Now, if you would have only accumulated for 3 years and stopped accumulating during when we saw the bear market indicators, you'd be up even more, 437%. That's pretty good. You would have invested 15,000, would have had 84,000 in the bank if you would have sold. And then the one thing I like about this is compared to other assets, you can say yes. This will compare against gold and the dollar. Just so you know, in the middle part here, you're investing the same amount, $15,700, right? But in gold, over 3 years, 4 years time, I guess, you would have a whopping 16%, which is pretty good. Pretty good in 3 years, I guess. But then you have 437. So again, it's a good way to take a look at things, but it goes even further than that. What I want to show you is that Bitcoin's great. It's the safest asset and the most unstable asset class, let's be honest. But this is what I did. And I invested into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano, and even EOS, like Beardy's always talking about. And a bunch of different ones. There's different cryptos, but some are going to make it, some are. But you got to remember that for Bitcoin to go up, for its market cap, it has to go up. For it to double, right now I think we're at like, 500 billion, I don't know. For it to double the price from 20,000 to 40,000, you're looking at to get to $1 trillion or somewhere around there. Now it'll be more than that, actually. But as you go down that pipe and take a look at different projects, take a look at Cardano. I bought in around right here, roughly at the very top, 2018. It was about $1. And then everything started to slide down. I stopped for a while because I was frustrated because I didn't understand about dollar cost averaging and patience. And I thought everything was going to the moon because no one would lie to me on YouTube, would they? And sure. So what I did was I stopped for a while. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep investing. I learned this thing called dollar cost. I'm just going to keep going until it'll rebound. I think it'll rebound because that's the natural cycles. So if you take a look at this, I started to get back in around February, actually, around 33 cents. And I just kept dollar cost averaging, putting in, like, let's do the same thing. Let's say like $100 per week, right? I got in February and let's just average it out. So Here over here, it's like 14 cents, 13, 10 cents, 8 cents, 6 cents, 7, 4 cents, 2 cents. I remember those days. I remember it was 2 cents. Those are good days. And I just kept buying. I'm like, yeah, it'll probably do pretty well. And then when it started, let's just pick a point. Let's say, when did it go below 10? Right around here. June, somewhere around there. So in February 2018 to June 2020, that's 2 years, 4 months, right? 2 years, 4 months. So in 2 years and 4 months, $100 per week. There's 52 weeks in a year. 52 and 52, 104. Plus 4 more months. 16 roughly. So 120 weeks. You have 120 weeks of putting in $100. That's $12,000 per month, right? Or $12,000 over total time. So I put in $12,000 and I was buying it at around roughly about 8 cents, somewhere around there. So for every time that I bought, I put $100. Correct me in the comment section. $100 at 8 cents, you get around 1,200, somewhere around there, ADA, 1250, 1,200, somewhere around there, at 8 cents for $100, right? So at the end of all this time, 2.5 years, 120 weeks, 1,250 ADA times 120 weeks, that's 150,000. And then, geez, yeah, 150,000. And then if you would have sold around, I don't know, $2 or $3, that's a pretty good money. And I know it looks pretty good like this. You're like, hey, I got 84,000 here. But again, when you go into the more riskier plays, I don't know if Cardano is very risky, but as it goes up, I mean, you can see that there's much more gains. Again, this is all about risk and how you deal with it. But again, this is what I've done and worked out pretty well. I'm going to do the exact same thing this year. And this year, I'm just going to try to be a little better at selling along the way. So let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And let's go into our next piece. This ought to be good. SWEATCOIN and how much they paid me. So SWEATCOIN, if you have never watched my show, I love that app. It's very simple. Download the app. It's 100% free, just like looking at Bitcoin, just like my website. And now this great app. And you walk and they pay in these SWEATCOINs. Very simple. Web 2 type of thing. You don't have to buy an NFT. You don't have to do all that stuff. Of course, you know, there's an economic model along with that, just like the same economic model that you might see on YouTube right now. How does this work, Rob? Well, YouTube is free for you to watch, but you have to watch ads, right? Yeah, that's true. So SWEATCOIN, they have some ads and you can buy different things. That's kind of much how it works. So we did this deep dive. And this is me and Oleg, one of the co-founders, and Ophir, head of marketing. And you can watch this video, links in the description. But what I did was I brought in a couple people. I got Jess. She is the chief marketing officer. And Ophir came back again, talk about SWEATCOIN and what's going on. And before I go that way, let me just give you a little snippet of what this is all going to come down to. Listen to this. Could you say that one more time? The 5 of the top 10 exchanges, such and such?
Yes, I can say that again. It's very nice to say it because I know that that's probably, you know, I've been in this space for years as a marketing person. When Binance is probably the question that defines what it means to do community management as a crypto person. So we have confirmed listings with 5 of the top 10 largest global crypto exchanges for listing day 1.
Great. So just so you know, that's what's going on with SWEATCOIN. They're going to have 5 of the top crypto exchanges. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to do a little thing. And this is how much they paid me to talk about SWEATCOIN. Nothing. They didn't pay me a cent. As a matter of fact, there's a link in the description. It is a spreadsheet. And I show you how much I paid them and how many tokens I got in the early rounds. So there's a link. You can track that out and all those things. So it always astounds me. Like people always, they ask the question, well, how much they pay you? How much they pay? How much they pay you? This isn't 2017 when there's a bunch of dirty ICOs going on. And they would say, here's some coins and dump them on your community. Sounds like a great plan for longevity. Makes no sense to me. If you want to be here for 3, 5, 10 years, like I'm always talking about, why would you do that? It's stupid. So for me, they said, okay, Rob, do you want to be a part of this project? Yes, I do. Okay, well, here's the price. Here's how much you can get. Here's a cap. We're not going to accept more. And here's the lockup of the shelf. Now for me, I can't touch these sweat coins for a year out. And then after that, it's on a cascading effect for the next 24 months. So the first 12 months, the first year, I don't get paid. I can't even touch the sweat tokens. I pay into it, can't even touch them. Now you can get into it now and pay for it right now, but it's different. And that is what it is. So what I'm going to do now is it's about 9-minute clip of me, Ophir, and Jess, and we're going to talk to you about what the upcoming project is and how things are going along quite swimmingly. So just take a listen to the video. As promised, I brought in some people that could help us understand exactly what's going on with this sweat token generation event. Again, Jess, thanks for coming in. No fear. Thanks for coming on yet again. I appreciate it, guys. So
it's lovely to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So there's a couple of things. We're going to talk about just 3 quick questions. First, give us the elevator pitch, because there's some people on my channel that don't understand exactly what SWEATCOIN and sweat is, even though I talk about it all the time. I understand. I talk about it a lot, but I am biased because I've been investing into it. Also, the next question is the DAO maker. Talk to us about the updates of this and how this works between sweat and DAO. And lastly, what kind of metrics are showing adoption for not just the SWEATCOIN app, but the SWEATCOIN or the sweat wallet into Web 2 to Web 3. So first thing first, first things first, I wanted to say thanks for helping out me and some of my subscribers. This is from my friend Neville. And he says, hey, he sent me 100 sweat coins as a thank you to get him off the couch. I said, no problem. Because I said to people like this, I'm like, look, do you walk? Do you like money, currency? If you like both of those things, maybe you should try SWEATCOIN, and then they get rewarded in sweat and everybody gets in a little bit better in shape. So these are one of those things that I can see it. So the first thing I got for you, either one can take it, is what's the elevator pitch here? Why would people want to use this?
I think your text exchanges did our elevator pitch for us in some ways. So the whole premise behind Sweat Economy and SWEATCOIN, the app, which has been our baby and our product to date, is how do we get the world moving more? And we're not talking Pelotons and expensive gym wear and, fad diets. The most simplest way in which you can improve your health is simply to take more steps in your day, and to the least sexy, but the most simple way to do that. So the founders conjectured that the best way to give people a behavioral nudge in order to get them moving that little bit more is just small rewards for movement. So the idea of a step counting app was born. And in actual fact, when the idea started, they very much had in mind the idea of creating a unit of currency out of movement. So having some sort of tangible asset that could be created by movement. But of course, the Web3 world, although a lot of people were talking about it, simply wasn't ready to deal with a mass audience of users that might potentially be generating in that way. So SWEATCOIN, the app, was born. That was a step counting app that was free to download, that enabled, it was move to earn before move to earn was ever coined as a phrase. In fact, our slogan was it pays to walk. So it would simply count your steps within the app. You'd accrue sweat coins, which is often termed sort of air miles for steps. They grow in your in-app wallet as a loyalty currency, and then you'd be able to spend them on a range of digital and physical products and services within the in-app marketplace, and indeed play games, bid, compete with your colleagues or your friends as to who got greater steps. And it worked. So we've demonstrated the behavioral science works. The average SWEATCOIN user, of which there are now over 100 million across the world, they move an average of 20% more with the SWEATCOIN app than they did prior to having the app. So it's been a fabulous success story of a company that's just grown in that way. And all the time we've been itching, when can we take this into Web3? And we've been watching the landscape. We've been watching the different players within the landscape. And until really the last year, there hasn't been anybody that's been able to work with us to manage the sort of scale of small transactions of everyday users that we expect to put through a cryptocurrency that would be generated in this kind. So we're here now, and we're super excited. So the cryptocurrency that we're launching is called Sweat, to distinguish it from SWEATCOINs, the loyalty currency. Sweat has already had 13 million people opt in since we announced that it was coming in April. And we are launching the wallet right now that will enable people to actually access their Sweat, to play with it, to stake it, and to DeFi trade it in Web3. So it wasn't a short pitch.
It's a pretty good pitch. And maybe before we go on, I will say this: as far as like motivating people, I can tell you that is a A1 key fact, because we just got back from New York for the US Open, and people were with like, do you want to do the Uber, or you want to just walk there? I'm like, hey, I got this app and I get paid for it, so I'm not going to waste it. Let's just do that. So we have that. And then just real quick, can you talk to people about the SWEATCOIN app and the Sweat wallet, and do they still need to use both of those things together?
Absolutely. So the SWEATCOIN app, even though it's become a fun marketplace where your coins accrue, the most important thing about the SWEATCOIN app is it's your movement validator. So having the SWEATCOIN app on your device is the very, very well invested and complicated technology that the team's been working on that validates the steps that you're taking. So as long as the SWEATCOIN app is on your phone, your steps are being counted, whether the phone is in your pocket, on your body in some way. So that is a crucial part of the crypto ecosystem that we're creating. You do need the SWEATCOIN app in order to validate and count your steps. And then the app will give you sweat coins as of now, but it will now start to generate sweat for you. Now, the sweat that you get, and post TGE, that will be up to 5,000 steps a day that will be converted, will appear in your sweat wallet. So the sweat wallet is where your token, your cryptocurrency of the steps that you take will accrue and will appear. So you do need, in order to access the token, you do need to have both of those wallets on your app. That's very important.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. All right. So that was just, and then I'm just showing everybody the new website. It looks very slick, very nice. People can find all their information. So Jess, thanks so much for the explanation. Appreciate it. Now let's get to the next one, the DAO maker. So there's been new updates that are coming on, but I'm not really familiar with what's going on and happening. So Ophir or Jessica, you guys talk about what's the update and how's this work between DAO maker and Sweat?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that there's been a postponing. I think the TGE was supposed to happen in July, and I know you cover in your channel the bear market quite frequently. So we were reacting to the market conditions, but in terms of organizational momentum and everything, we were ready to go 2 months ago. We just used that time to refine everything we have even further. And right now, the main place where the public can participate in the token sale before it goes live on listings is the DAO Maker Launchpad. So the DAO Maker Launchpad enables projects to sell their tokens to people. And one of the hallmark features is that it limits the participation amount to every person around $1,000. So the goal here is to have as many wallets holding Sweat, not till now, 1 or 2 whales buy the whole thing up.
Yeah.
And so the DAO Maker registration for the Sweat sale opens tomorrow. What does that mean? You go and see the Sweat page, you can register for it, and then it's called a stronghold offering. That's the DAO Maker speak for token sale. Show in an acronym, SHO. So the show registration starts tomorrow. And then what happens is that people can go, they need to hold DAO tokens, which they can buy on a number of exchanges. And then they use those to stake in order to hold a position, or in, let's call it more simple language, have a lottery ticket. Now, there's going to be only $2 million worth of Sweat tokens on sale in this public sale. And we know that there's going to be a lot more demand, a lot more interest. So let's say, I don't want to give numbers, it's irresponsible, but let's say that several times as many interest than $2 million come in. The lottery system will decide which of those lucky people actually get to buy Sweat, and the actual buying, the sale itself happens on the 9th, 10th. Okay. And those people get their token on the 12th, which is the token generation event. And then the listing on some of the world's largest exchanges, actually more than 5 of the top 10 are going to list Sweat on day 1. And so the listing and the actual public trading starts on September the 13th. So that's the flurry of events that are ahead of us.
Could you say that one more time? The 5 of the top 10 exchanges, such and such?
Yes, I can say that again. It's very nice to say it because I know that that's probably, you know, I've been in this space for years as a marketing person. When Binance is probably the question that defines what it means to do community management as a crypto person.
Yeah.
So we have confirmed listings with 5 of the top 10 largest global crypto exchanges for listing day 1. We can't disclose any names. If anyone listening to this knows because they've worked with them, they don't like that information to be shared. But I will tell you that the larger of these has told us that they will announce it around 48 hours before September 13th. So on September 11th, some really juicy news is about to come out.
Gotcha. Thanks. So, I mean, that sounds good. It sounds great. But what kind of, well, this is my next question then. What kind of metrics are we looking at that are actually showing adoption and things are moving in the right direction? Because it's one thing to say hype, but another thing to say, okay, here's what we have. So what do we have here?
Yeah. All right. So just in terms of following up on what Jess was talking about earlier, everyone listening to this should get SWEATCOIN because SWEATCOIN is going to count your steps and reward you on the Sweat wallet. SWEATCOIN, Sweat wallet, right? But the Sweat wallet has been in production for several months, and now it is finally being rolled out. In the lead up to the rollout, people who have SWEATCOIN were prompted, would you like to try our crypto product? It's about to launch. 13 million people created wallets in that way. You can say they opted in. You can say they joined a waiting list. All of these words describe the same scenario. And then in the last 2 weeks, we've been slowly notifying smaller groups of users, hey, the wallet is literally live. Literally download the actual wallet, not the opt-in, not the waiting list. And already hundreds of thousands of people have downloaded and logged in. And we will be aggressively continuing to roll it out until TGE on September 12th. One other thing that I can say is that there is a massive advantage of getting SWEATCOIN and Sweat wallet before September 12th. Any SWEATCOINs you've earned were turned into Sweat tokens as an airdrop. And that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. If you discover about this video in 6 months from today, you should still get both those apps, but you're not going to get that sweet airdrop that happens that day.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's a big milestone because we've been in a coming soon state for quite a while, which is generally a state that a lot of crypto companies are in. And we're very happy to see hundreds of thousands of downloads already coming in. Just in the Play Store, the Android store, it's already over 100,000 downloads. And we haven't even done any big announcements or any big blasts. It's just been notifying the people who are in the opted in.
Perfect. All right. Well, guys, thanks for stopping by and just giving us a quick update. I do appreciate it. Everybody who's watching the video right now, all the things we talked about, there'll be links in the description. You can find all those things. You can find the Sweat Economy website. You can find the DAO Maker and how to get involved in that. And that should do it. So, Ophir, Jess, thanks again for stopping by. We all appreciate it.
Always good. And yeah, stay tuned.
We'll see. All right, guys, let's jump back. All right, so that's it. That's a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but yeah, that's all for what we have. So now that takes care of the news aspects of what's going on in crypto world. If you want to stick around, that'd be great. We're going to do the Q&A. If you got to go take off, it's great. It's Sunday, probably a football game somewhere, and some things to do. If you got to take off, get out of here. I appreciate you sticking with me, almost 1,000 people. That is fantastic. But if you want to stick around, we'll do a little Q&A, and I'll answer all your questions the best of my abilities. There's some good ones I already starred in the chat, and that's what we'll start to do right now. And let's jump into it. A little Q&A.